Daddy, mommy and baby yun.
Oh, wow, ang laki. It's big, huh?
Take a look. Yeah, what is that? There's sometimes multiple layers of rock in each of those color bands that you saw, the Lucius color band. Older rock is down at the bottom where the river is. Younger rock is up near the top of the trail a little bit.
Yeah.
But the layer of rock right below that chalky white layer, the kind of peachy tan mixed with gray layer.
Hi dear.
Oh, hey, dear.
And as we come around some of these turns, out the front dash, you can start seeing some of this lava rock up here at the top of the plateau. Even out your right side windows, you can see some of the lava rock here at the top of the plateau, just like earlier, at least on this end of it. And if you start looking out your left side windows again, across this gorge that's right here, you'll see these stacks of stone, kind of around shoulder height, just straight out the left-hand side there. On the other side, I think there's 2 or 3 stacks of stones over there. That's that old coach road again from this morning. Those were the barrier walls as it wound its way up here, continuing further north in the state. Same one. I don't know about you, but again, I'd probably look at that and go, have fun. Not the same one, though. As we come around this bend, we're probably going to stop. Look at that. Man, it's so good.
What's this?
Coming up around these turns where these actual stops, for those who can see, you can see the pillared lava rock up there at the top of the canyon. For those further back, no worries. We're going to make a wide left turn. You'll be able to see it out the right side windows in a second. We're going to make this left-hand turn up there, turning onto our right. On the top of the canyon, you can see that pillared lava rock up there. Still out the kind of right side, forward right side, down where well, that truck was there, we can't see it now, but down here on the right, which will soon be in front of us, and then very soon on the left. As we make this wide left turn, it'll be out the right-hand side. You can see where it starts to transition into some of that red supai layer right around here, and then it disappears. The story I have about these switchbacks is for the brief time my father was in undergrad. Here's some more wonderful fake rock wall. He was studying up at Northern Arizona University, his geology and paleontology up there. And this was it's either the summer of 70 or 71. And some of those friends they made here said they wanted to go down to Slide Rock State Park, which is known as the West Fork Trail. It goes up the West Fork of the Oak Creek. And it is the most popular hike in Arizona, popular trail. So much so that in high season, which again is kind of more or less now, but really is empty, it won't be in a couple weeks as people walk back to that trail. And it's a decent trail, and you go through the creek, you go up the West Fork, you see the foundations of an old, they'll be doing this. This is much more what you'll see, but even more so. And they'll be doing that. It probably was closed earlier today. It might still be closed if enough people were there. But because it's just around this bend. But you go through the creek, you go up by see the foundations of an old lodge that Arizona politicians built back here in the 1930s. Only its foundations because it fell to wildfire several decades ago. But you go through some slots and eventually it gets you to goods. To Slide Rock State Park, that destination for my father and his friends in that story. Very popular place, Slide Rock. It always has been, but back even 20 years ago, the people who knew about it were people in Sedona, some people in Flagstaff, maybe a smattering of others are just generally around, and that's who knew about Slide Rock. And then, like a lot of things in Arizona, 10 years ago, Instagram found it, which was kind of funny because you saw them suddenly, like off and on, someone would disappear and then disappear and then disappear, because Slide Rock lives up to its name. It's a natural slick rock. The creek carved a natural water slide. That's why people go there. So in this bustling kind of like ebbing crowd, there'd be people who use why it's known as the little cousin to the Grand Canyon. I really like coming through here if there's just been a rain, or a light rain, or if there's like low clouds and they're peeling off of the canyon sides as we come through here. It's really nice. I mean, it's still really nice. That's just my favorite time to see it. We're around this next turn is where we're running into Slide Rock. I'll have you guys look at it just because I can't, because there's an awkward turn and I can't turn my head and turn and watch the road at the same time. But right down there, but across this bridge, that way is Slide Rock. Again, very popular these days. Still out your right side windows coming up. This is part of the original orchard here in this section of Sedona. This is the original homestead area of Sedona. That's part of the original apple orchard, and because that's what apple orchards all around the Sedona area. This was like the late 1800s, and this was the homestead for the original homestead. It's overgrown from their original patch that they just let kind of go wild, and in a couple of weeks it'll be full of blackberries and little birds every time we come through here. It gets cold. It does snow through here.
Here you go.
I've driven through it. And for our people out the front, you can start seeing some of those red rocks, buttes of Sedona peeking up in the distance. For our folks farther back, no worries. We'll make some wider right-hand turns and be able to see them out your forward left windows. I mean, even out your just right side windows, you can see we're getting into the red rock. Which brings us to, I bet you thought it was over, but here it is again, last one. Anybody know or have a guess as to why the rock in Sedona? We had clay, what did you say back there? Clay, iron. Anyone else? Bauxite?
Yeah.
That's a new one. I've not heard that reason before. Yeah, I can see how. I mean, I can see where the train of thought goes. That's no one on any of the tours has ever said that before. So I'm like, oh, that's. Well, I'll tell you. I just want to see what you guys come up with initially. Why is the rock here so red? For our Calvin and Hobbes fans, my favorite reason why the rock is so red is when it sets, and he tells them it actually sets in Arizona near Flagstaff, and that's why the rocks there are so red. But why the rocks are so red? Well, every night the people of Sedona pile into their cars and they drive straight down to Phoenix, into downtown, to a classic place called Pablo's Old Paint Shop, and they buy buckets of Sedona red, and they come and paint the vistas every night for you. So in the winter, it's a nice hike. People like to do it in the now time. It's a nice hike and swim. I believe where the original kind of community started to develop, a lot of the buildings even up there are the same buildings, just about 150 years old, having been refurbished multiple times since then. Pretty much through this light, you start getting into some of the older, traditional, like authentic, was like this stuff. That building was here. It's been refurbished and changed into all kinds of stuff, but a lot of the stuff right around this roundabout, and if we turned right on this roundabout and went up that street a little bit, a lot of these are original buildings. Sorry for the bump, because then you know I'm going to be turning in the roundabout. We're going to be stopping at some place just outside some place called the Canyon Breeze. You feel free to wander uptown at your leisure. Canyon
Downtown Sedona. Downtown Sedona. Just be here until 4:50. You're gonna buy something. Just hold it. Makain kami dito sa ganda dun Sedona. Ayun jam. Kami. Jam.
Tingin.
Let's go and eat Hindi tayo na. Let's go and eat pipi. Nagkain ng chakoy si Jeb. Chakoy ang tawag sa akin niya, man.
Oh?
Chakoy. Yan o, chakoy. Ay, chakoy. Ay, chakoy, choy.
As we come up this little rise, you're looking out the right side window, straight out the right side window, this rising monolith of a mountain out there in the distance. That's known as Thunder Mountain. There is a guy who lived out here, nobody knows ever heard of, named Walt Disney. And his house faced that mountain. That was his favorite mountain out here. So when he was designing a theme park that nobody ever goes to, he wanted to develop a railroad ride, and he wanted it to look like that. So when he brought the designers out here, he said, make it look like that. And that's where the big Thunder Mountain Railroad ride in Disneyland comes from. The part he really liked is a little out of sight if we're facing it. It's down further to the right if you're looking at it, but the whole thing is Thunder Mountain. Lots of celebrities off and on throughout the years have had places in Sedona. Sometimes as vacation homes, sometimes as investment, probably as both. I only know about those two. I mean, I know other celebrities who have places here, but I don't know where they are. I don't know where Disney's place was, but I know he had ones that faced the mountain. But I know others have places out here currently. I just don't know where they are. I just know where Lucy's house was. Coming up to another roundabout here. Some directions, and they're local or you know the area. It's your standard kind of 3-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Out of curiosity, I was seeing what it's being sold for because that's only been there about a month. $1.75 million to get that. This up here, this little like castle-looking thing up on the hill. 2 beds, 2 baths. It sold last March of 2021. 3.5.
Oh wow.
If you're up on top of the hill with large panoramic windows where you have a view, especially now in crazy times, easily double digits, multiple millions of dollars. If you're down in the gully at 2-bath, it's only a measly $750, give or take, because you don't have a view down there. But if you're right on the creek, that's waterfront property. It's more than. But you too could get lucky and find your right side windows as we make this turn. But I call that the Temple of the Sunset, that little pagoda, because that's what it has to be for the sunset's over there. But that's all one thing. That's all one complex that's still under construction. I wouldn't be surprised if that's in the triple digits, multiple millions of dollars up there. As we come around behind this weird Spanish Pueblo mashup thing, back behind it as we go past, you can see these kind of finger-looking buttes sticking up back there. Those are known as the 3 wise men and the mother and child. You can see the mother and child is the tiny one in the middle. She's holding the baby. The ones surrounding her are the wise men. When the sun hits that right, it looks like a Renaissance painting. Just kind of cocked to the side, holding the baby. If you're still looking at those buttes, go down slightly to the left, right around 7 o'clock, and you'll see in a dusty desert pink the chapel on the rock, the chapel of the Holy Cross up there. Just going down to the left from those buttes. If you can't see it, don't worry, we'll be able to see it from the vista. It was originally going to be built in Hungary, but this little thing called World War II broke out, so they built it here instead. It is an active chapel, Catholic diocese, and it's open to the public all week because it has a nice view up there. Also, the view from inside the chapel is nice. It's closed to the public on Sundays so they can have services. It's a nice place. The only problem is its parking lot's about the size of one of these roundabouts. Coming in and out of the trees, yes. We had of Cathedral Rock is that butte on the far right. We're supposed to represent the Yavapai tribe, the one that kind of looks like a big cylinder, kind of looks like a can. I'd like to be able to see it again to make this right turn. And the butte on the far left, from where we're looking, was to represent the Apache tribe. And from where we are right now, we can't see it, but there is a little skin vista we'll be able to see it as well. And the story goes that one side represents the Yavapai, one represents the Apache, and that figure in the middle represents 2 women, one from each tribe, who came together to form one body with 2 heads to bring union between the warring tribes. So they would always be one people from that moment on. And when that happened, they were cast into stone on the spot. And then some white guys came along and went, that looks like a cathedral. Same story. I think what the courthouse is supposed to be like, looks like a courthouse is on the other side, but I've seen it from both sides. Same thing. I've never been able to see a courthouse in this thing.
Courthouse.
I'm beginning to think the cowboys are really leaning into the whiskey when they're naming something. We'll be able to see it.
Oh, see, this is the. We are here in Sedona. Look the courthouse. Look the courthouse. Nakasama ko sa tour. Jam jam. Oh, we lived here a long ago. Saan tayo? Wow.
Start here initially to be able to see that side. And then we'll go up that little hill so we can see what the trees are blocking. But first things first that are here, this on the far right is Bell Rock. This again, it looks kind of like a bell. You can even see people halfway up, even a little more than halfway up Bell Rock. Anything that's a little white dot or a bright colored dot is a person. To its left, this is Courthouse Butte. Again, I think the part that's supposed to look like the courthouse is the other side. I've never been to see a courthouse in it either direction. To its left, this little cleft rock out there in the distance that has two names that I know it by. This one is the bunny ears, or the rabbit ears. It's also known as Guardian Angel Rock, where if you're looking at it and you're looking at just the left side of the cleft, you can see a figure, head slightly bowed forward, and then the right side of the cleft is the angel's wing folded in behind her. This lump straight in front of us is called the Baby Bell. It looks like a little version of that. This whole thing is referred to as Lee Mountain. And if we're looking at Lee Mountain, we go to the horizon line, and you go all the way left, you get this point that's jutting out that way. That's called a Gibraltar because apparently it looks similar to the Rock of Gibraltar, but a different color. That's what this general area is, and as soon as you're content and we're getting photos of that, we'll go up this hill a little ways and
Cactus.
if this seems too steep, that's okay. It goes around.
What's up? We used to climb like jam jam.
As you come up here, be aware of stumps that don't move. Someone pulled it out. There was a metal pin in here. I guess someone pulled it out.
Doon.
You say that, but there's more coming. So what we're looking at here is you're looking out at this. It's known as the Twins, the Twin Buttes, because there's one that way and one that way. Go to the horizon line of the Twins and go all the way to the left, to the very tip end of the left part of the Twins, and go straight down. You can see the chapel on the rock out there, kind of facing us. Or you might not be able to see it, but the chapel right there facing us. You go all the way to the right and keep going. There's two kind of oval, egg-shaped kind of lumps right there on the far right side. Hands clasped before her in prayer. Those are both known as the nuns. We can only see one of them really well right now because where the sun is. But those are both known as the nuns. What they are just this perspective of two of those wise men. We're seeing them from this angle, so direct on from the other angle. But that's one of them. That's one of the nuns. The other one will look very similar to that one. The light hits right. We just can't quite see it. Two little figure in the middle. They're in silhouette, so unfortunately they're silhouette, but it's okay. If you guys didn't get a good glimpse of it before. The part Disney liked is down far to the right out of sight behind this flat mesa in front of us, but that whole thing is Thunder Mountain. It's named because when the monsoons come through, they either come down Oak Creek Canyon or they come from over Thunder Mountain, hence the name. That flat mesa in front of Thunder Mountain that's blocking off our full view of it is Airport Mesa. I'll give you 3 guesses why. You can fly up here from Phoenix, but it'll cost you about $1,000. People do it.
Very nice. Yan po yung courthouse. Parang nga namang courtroom. Courthouse. Yan yung bell. Ano nga yung bell, mahal? Ano nga yung bell?
Sabi sa'yo eh.
Bell pepper. Really nice place. Are you okay, anak? Are you happy? Ay, sabing kulit-kulit mo rin. Mahal, tingin. We're done exploring the area. Going to sunset. To see the sunset. See. Oh, yeah, may mukha po.
But that's the side. This little community we're dipping down into is known as the village of Oak Creek.